Milkshed and
Julie from Diary of a Yarn Snob.
So we had so much fun last time that we decided we were going to do this again, but this time we wanted to go through some frequently asked questions. So I went through all the frequently asked questions in Julie's thread. There's only like one in my thread, but I thought about the questions, the questions that we get on Instagram, the questions that we get in email, all that kind of stuff. And then just some common things that you guys want to know. So we're going to talk about some life related things and then some crafting related things. And hopefully that will create like a natural split where we can divide the video and upload it on both of our channels. So
perfect.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So
well, I know because my name on Ravelry is Way Cool Jules, which dates back to my computer and AOL. But no, Jules is just like what my friends call me whenever, I don't care. I really don't. I like both. I think Jules makes me feel like it's an affectionate kind of a
term of endearment.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Exactly. So I don't care either way.
Literally.
Jules makes me we're automatically friends.
Oh, I should really switch over. I was calling you Julie for so long that now it's like a different person. I'll call you Jules.
Well, that's what my name is Julie. I get called Julie normally, but it's sort of like, I don't know. It's just sort of like a, hey, Jules.
Yeah.
But usually everybody calls me Julie in my real world.
So for me, Stef is fine. Stephanie's fine. Most people in my life, even people who I don't really know, like my customers and people in town call me Stef anyway. And my really close friends call me my maiden last name, which is Jackson. They call me just Jackson or Jax. So whatever. Any of it's fine. Okay, so next question is, why do you live in Reno, correct? So why do you live there?
In Sparks, Nevada.
Okay. Reno adjacent?
Yeah, it's like, here's Reno, here's Sparks.
Okay.
They're right. Like it takes 10 minutes to 15 minutes to get to downtown Reno.
Okay, so how did you end up living there?
My husband works for CVS Pharmacy, and when we were in Indiana, he got promoted to district manager, which moved us to right outside of St. Louis for 4 years. And then the same thing, his job he put his, CVS bought out a big old drugstore chain out west, because there were no CVS's out here. I think it was Albertsons or something like that. But so they needed all new people. So he put his hat in and put his name in and see what happens. And actually, originally he was going to go to the San Francisco area. And I was all like, I'm a Hoosier. Anything California sounded fabulous. But then we started looking at like
cost of living.
Oh my God.
I think it is the most expensive place in the country.
Yeah, it would be like $600,000 for like a 1,200 square foot house.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. So we were literally going to turn it down, and that same day he got a text that said, your district has changed. It's now Reno, Nevada. And I swear to God, this was my exact reaction. Verbatim. Nevada?
Yeah.
What the is in Nevada?
Who lives in Nevada?
I know. Maybe I said, what the hell is in Nevada? Because like, all you think of is Vegas. And I think of Reno as like, I saw an episode of Roseanne, and it's poor man's Vegas. But, oh my God, so we just did it. We moved. My son was in 5th grade. We love it out here. Love it.
Beautiful weather.
Yeah.
I would imagine not too hot, although Vegas gets hot.
It gets pretty hot in the summer. So it's hundreds plenty, but it's not frequent. It's always cooler in the mornings and in the evenings, but we have mild winters, a little bit of fall. We get all 4 seasons, but we have no humidity. So there's no mosquitoes. No mosquitoes. And my hair, when I curl it, it stays curled. But the humidity doesn't, you know what I mean? We don't have any of that. So you never sweat.
Totally.
A cat is adorable.
He is just going to cry if I don't hold him. So I'm just holding him like upside down like a baby. He doesn't. He'll like touch my face. This is Baxter.
Baxter, that's right. I love that. I want a cat. Steve won't let me get a cat.
Alan won't. Baxter's quite old, and we thought it was kind of end of the road for him. And Alan won't let me get another one once he unfortunately dies. And I'm not a cat person. I just like him. I'm actually
Yeah.
allergic to cats and dogs, which is very stupid because I have all of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I would feel about another cat, but I like this cat quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's my little
Well,
buddy.
it's kind of, you just never know what you're going to get. Some of them can be kind of standoffish, and other ones can be very loving and playful. You just never know.
And he's just like a rescue that I can. We'll talk about that later in the next section.
No, I love watching him touch
It's like
your face.
pawing my face.
That's so
Somebody told me they wanted to see more Baxter, so here we go. Here's more Baxter. He's just going to cry if I don't hold him, so we'll keep him until he's done.
I'm an animal lover.
So I have so many questions as a result of what you just said. One, do you get a discount at CVS?
Yes.
Stop.
You get 20% off of everything except alcohol. And it used to be alcohol in like diapers or something, and cigarettes, but they don't sell cigarettes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So 20% off non-sale, and then 30% off CVS brand.
Yes.
So like when I do shopping for deodorant or paper towels, all of that, totally go to CVS. But if it's on sale, I don't get a discount.
I love CVS. So, and drugstore makeup has like totally upgraded lately. It's like way better than it used to be. I would go bananas. That's amazing. And then second, I feel like I know that you said you used to live in St. Louis, but it didn't really like trigger until now. Like Alan's family's from St. Louis. We spend time there all the time.
Well, we were technically lived in Edwardsville, Illinois, which is just across the river.
Okay.
Minutes to get into St. Louis.
Okay.
So in fact, that's where Melissa from the Spicy Homemaker is from. Like technically, we lived in Glen Carbon, but I always consider them the same thing, same city. Ian went to school in Edwardsville. Would have gone to Edwardsville High School, but there's quite a few people that are from the St. Louis area.
I talked to Spicy Homemaker about meeting up when we go to St. Louis.
Oh, yes.
His family is from, I don't know geographically. Like his grandma lives in like the suburbs of the city. And I think his sister and her boyfriend live in the city. And then their family lives in like it's like House Springs or Hillsborough area, which is 30 minutes to the city.
Okay.
So,
That's pretty cool though. Yeah. And you know who else? Chris Kelly from House Yarn. She lives in that area too, but she has a sister here in Reno.
Oh.
In fact, she had, when we first met last year via, I don't know, podcasting, whatever. She had just been out here. And so like when she comes out the next time, we're going to hook up.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. Yeah. So I should ask you for some St. Louis suggestions. We never, I think because Alan grew up there and he did his little stint of like living in the city and biking everywhere. So he's kind of over it. But all the public attractions, like the zoo in St. Louis, are free. Yeah. And that's really abnormal. So I really want to...
Into the arch, it's like a little... You
said it's like an elevator that like...
Yeah, they're like little pods. They look like the eggs from Mork and Mindy, and you go up, 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 up. And you can actually feel it kind of swaying in the wind.
I'm out.
When we were there, because what was really cool is Ian was in elementary school, and their field trips would be to places like that. So I always... chaperoned because I wanted to see St. Louis. We didn't spend the only time we would ever go. We went to Soulard overnight. That area one time for an anniversary. Went to a really cool blues bar restaurant place. We went to Harrah's, their casino, once in a while, and of course Cardinals games. But I was too scared to drive into St. Louis. I would never drive, and this is before GPS. We didn't have a GPS or anything, so I was terrified.
Alan.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. My sister lives in Novi, Michigan, and works in Detroit.
Novi's like my stomping grounds, pretty much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, everybody, I might as well tell my story. So I live in Wyoming right now. I live in rural Wyoming. The closest area that people would have heard of is Jackson Hole. And I just say Jackson Hole because this is a little awkward, but like our town is so small that I'm not super comfortable. Like I've gotten some questions about... It's like the internet, guys. And I've gotten a few questions about like our exact town, and it makes me feel a little weird because it's so small that anybody could like randomly walk into my store at any time, and I would feel really like off guard. So it's pretty much Jackson Hole area. We moved out here for the business that we own, so we lived in Metro Detroit. I blew my nose last time. Don't worry about it.
Oh my god!
Did it get on your shawl?
Yes. I'm loving it. I'm sweating right now.
Beautiful.
because I love it.
I should have put something knitting related on. I would be really hot with the cat and knitting stuff.
I'm kind of hot right now, so anyway. But keep going.
We were in the Metro Detroit area. Okay. And a lot of people ask me where, like, honestly, all over Michigan. So when we moved to Michigan, we moved to Lake Orion, and then I lived in Rochester and Auburn Hills. My parents moved down to Monroe. And then, so if you, Michigan people, you'll know what I mean. Monroe's like pretty much on the Toledo border. And then I went to high school in Bloomfield Hills. I went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And then my parents have a farm south of Battle Creek. And then they also have a place kind of greater Ann Arbor area. So if it's Metro Detroit, I'm pretty much like when we go, we end up driving an hour and a half in one direction and then an hour and a half in the other direction. And then we also have some cabins up north in the Traverse City area and then one in the UP. So Michigan all over. And then, so I was working in downtown Detroit for the marketing department of a law firm. And my parents had purchased a place in the town where we live in Wyoming, a vacation house that they were going to eventually retire to. Oh, okay. And the power sports dealership that we own here, they bought an ATV there. They were out riding it at one of the local, like, lodge. It's like a guest ranch is the only way to describe it. So they were, like, at the lodge getting lunch. And this guy was like, oh, did you buy that ATV at the store? And they're like, yeah, actually we did. And they just got talking to him, and he said that he was kind of like an absentee owner.
I gotta shut this now because
okay. No worries. He said he was like a absentee owner, and they said, well, if you ever think about selling, just let us know because we've always wanted to own a power sports dealership. So he calls me and he's like, do you and Alan want to move to Wyoming to own a power sports dealership? I was at work and I was like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. Like, I'll ask Alan, but sure, let's go for it. And I asked him, and he said yes, and that started things immediately. Like, we had never been here. We'd never visited. It was, like, off and running. And then after that we came out to visit for just a weekend. And then, like, 3 weeks later, we had just left our house in Michigan and driven to Wyoming with I had our SUV towing my little Mini Cooper, and he had a pickup truck towing a U-Haul, and that was it.
Oh, wow.
So we brought, like, our dogs, the cat, speaking of cat, he's just, like, tenderly caressing me. We brought, like, our computers, our clothes, and our animals, and that was it. And everything else stayed behind in Michigan for, like, 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, before we finally found the time and had the money to get a place of our own.
Everybody loves your post. Like, you live in gorgeous country. Like, your backyard. It is. It's gorgeous. I show Steve all the time because he just loves that stuff. He's like, is that your friend? I'm like, yep, that's the one.
A lot of people are like, they don't really have I thought Wyoming was going to be like, I grew up reading like Laura Ingalls Wilder, and I thought it was going to be like wide open land and we could get like thousands of acres for no money. And we just happen to live in a very specific area that's kind of bordered by all the national forest and BLM land. And then I think the biggest Indian reservation. So the actual land available for purchase where we are there's not a lot. It's hard to actually get some property. So I thought it was going to be, super low cost of living, and like, it's definitely not, but it's worth it. The cost of living is definitely higher here than it was where we were in Michigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely. And then we are in a very much, a lot of Wyoming is tourist area or like ranchers. Like, we have cowboys who are actual cowboys. Like, I'll try and get a picture for you guys this summer. If you scroll back in my feed, I'm sure you'll find one where I will encounter like cattle drives on the highway. And you have to stop for them, and it'll be like
a train.
Yeah, literally, it's like stopping for the train, and there'll be all these cattle dogs and people on horseback driving cattle from like one pasture to the next. It's great though. We love it. We're really close to Yellowstone, which we don't really take advantage of. We should take a trip to Yellowstone this year. I'll try and get some footage.
We live right 45 minutes from Lake Tahoe, and
how often do you go to Lake Tahoe? Like,
do what?
How often do you actually go to Lake Tahoe?
Not as often as I like. My son, he doesn't even get how lucky he is. Yeah. When I lived in Indiana, people pay big money to go on a trip to Lake Tahoe.
Right.
We could drive there in 45 minutes, spend the day at the beach, or we're not skiers, so we really don't go very often. But, just to go and sit and, like, I would take because I have a little convertible. I love just drive the drive. It's a gorgeous drive. And now that I knit, last time I did this, I wasn't even a knitter, but I just want to take my knitting and just go sit. But I have Pyramid Lake too, which I'd never heard of. That's an Indian reservation too. So there's no buildings, there's no trees. Like where I'm originally from, the Midwest, camping means green trees, mosquitoes, raccoons. Here, and tents. Here it's fifth wheels and RVs.
Yeah.
Pyramid Lake has not a single tree.
Really?
So there's no shade. It's all sand, and everything here is brown. Like, we do have green grass, but everything is brown. But the mountains in the background. I mean, we live close to 45 minutes from Lake Tahoe. And then within 4 hours, we could either get to Napa Valley or San Francisco.
Awesome.
So, day trips. We have done I've done all three of those things. Been to San Francisco a few times, which is one of my favorite cities. But we're similar like you. We had never been out here before, didn't know anybody, didn't know what we were going to, fortunately for us, since it was a move with CVS, they packed up our house. Well, they
nice.
Did. Company. Mm-hmm. They brought my car out here. We didn't have to. In fact, we had this big giant dog, not as big as Sully, but he was 100-pounder, and we were going to fly him out here. So I had to buy one of those big giant crates because they have to be able to sit and have so many inches above and all of that. They're supposed to be able to turn around and have all these shots. I had bought the crate, was going to buy a plane ticket, all of that, but I was terrified for him to be on an airplane like that. And so I was at the old house while the movers were packing up and everything, and this one guy was just like, hit it off so well with our dog. His name was Buzz Lightyear, was our dog.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Ian named him, obviously. But, no, he hit it off so well. I'm like, hey, like, if I slide you
take the dog
on the table, he's like, I'll take your dog over there. Because he was driving cross country with all our stuff. So these two guys took Buzz's big bed, stuck it between their seats on the semi.
That's the best.
For the whole ride. And then their truck would break down, so they'd get a hotel where the dogs was allowed. And he'd send me pictures of him saying, road dog. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's doing great. It was so cool. Like, we were all three standing in the driveway. We could have cared less about the crap in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
We just wanted to see our dog,
That's the best story.
It was so cool that those guys did that. Yeah.
Awesome.
So we didn't have to fly him. Yeah, and then he died a year later. It was very sad.
Buddy.
But yeah, so that's my story. We love it out here, though. I don't know why. There's no state income tax. I don't know why I don't retire. I mean, in Florida, I get it, the weather and everything, but the climate and it's just a laid back environment. It's really great out here.
Totally agree. We love living out west in general. And we often say, like, if the business didn't work, what would we do? I think we would still stay out here. We might leave, in my small town, if you don't kind of own a business of your own, you don't work. Like, it's not like there's just like jobs to be had.
Right.
So we might not be able to stay here, but I think we would go to like Boise area or Salt Lake City area. It's just beautiful. And so you're more desert, and we're kind of what I think it's called high desert. So we have a little, like right now, there's enough grass that Ellen can mow it. Yeah. And then from there, really the only way you're going to get grass is if you irrigate. And I personally just think that's a massive waste of resources. So we just let the grass dry out. And then one of the biggest things about our area is that it's like a tourist destination it's usually people driving from Yellowstone through to elsewhere. So if you've driven from Yellowstone, you can only go one way or the other. It's not like multiple places to go. You've probably driven through our little town. And then in the winter, it is considered destination snowmobiling. So people will come from all over to ride where we are on our mountain. And we're like 15 minutes to the mountain pass. So we have probably a bit more like green and trees than you do, but it's definitely still like a desert climate.
Yeah, we're considered high desert. I mean, Reno is like 4,000 feet above sea level. Mm-hmm. And then if you go to Tahoe or just going to California, you have to go across like the Sierra Nevada mountains where Donner Summit is, and the story of the Donners. We go. It reminds me of Thomas the Tank Engine because you can see a train traveling along the mountain. When it's snowing, it's terrifying to drive, but it's gorgeous. I love it. It's just beautiful.
When we go, we're going to Jackson on Monday, and I hopefully will do a little time lapse so you guys can see the mountain pass that we go through. So we are at 7,000 feet. Okay. And then, which was hard to adjust when we moved out here. Like, people get altitude sickness. It takes a while to really adjust to altitude. And then when I snowmobile a little, but mostly I just work the shop. But Alan goes snowmobiling both for fun and then to take customers out. So he often rides up to 11,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
Which is intense. So it's like, it's
only, our mountain only goes up to like 8,000. If you're crossing over, you go all the way up and you feel it. But the dryness here, we get, like, it's just so dry, like bloody noses and dry.
Right here, I'm like, always, my skin's always dry. I love that though. Michigan, like Indiana, the humidity, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it.
St. Louis was, I know there were, I always say we lived in St. Louis. It's just easier mentally to picture where. But I always felt like, and it's probably not even the case, but I always felt like the humidity was even worse there.
Horrible. I don't know. No, I totally agree. It's just, I can't deal with it anymore. We go see our families, and I'm just like, oh, how do you live here? It's,
And my glasses would fog up from heat because I'd be leaving air conditioning. It would almost be like we'd go to Ian's baseball games, and I would be as close to naked as legally possible.
And you just feel like damp, and I can't deal with it. My body is not made for that kind of lifestyle. So we love that. And people think Wyoming, like, winter's really tough. We are, in town, we'll get like 4 inches of snow, and then it's gone. But then if you drive 20 minutes into the mountain, there will be like 6 feet of snow. Yeah.
So the mountain can get literally 5 feet in a day, and we're literally just 20 minutes from the foot of the mountain, or starting to go up the mountain, but we can get just a dusting. They'll get 5 feet 30 minutes away, and we'll get hardly anything. It's crazy. We're kind of in a bowl, like a valley.
Same. We're in like it's called a warm valley, literally warm valley. And this is funny. I told Jenny from Tiny Paper Foxes. She got this yarn from Wyoming, and it was named after what happens to be my town. I just told you guys my town, but this town used to be called Never Sweat. That because of the dry winds that come through, the dry air. So it was called Never Sweat. But the post office took it back in like pioneer times. The post office took issue with the Never Sweat name. So they named it, I'll just tell you guys, they named it Dubois. And then the locals rejected the French pronunciation because they were upset that they lost the name Never Sweat. So even though it's spelled Dubois, people call it Dubois. So that's my little town. Now you know where I live.
Yeah. I've got 3 sisters and a brother. They're all Ohio, Indiana, and my mom and dad live in Florida. I have 1 child, and Steve and I have been married for 24 years. It'll be 24 years in September.
How did you guys meet?
We met at Ball State University.
Uh-huh.
A girl that lived on my dorm floor, it was from his hometown, was dating his brother, actually.
Okay.
This other girl from their high school had won $1,000 on a scratch-off lottery ticket, so she had a big cake party.
Yeah.
We go, and that's where I met Steve, was at that party.
And you've been together ever since?
Ever since. We've never broke up once in our datings. One time we got into this is funny.
This is what I want to hear. Tell me the good stuff.
We dated for like 2.5 years before we got married, and one time, the only fight I think we ever had while we were dating, I remember we were in my bedroom. I don't even remember what the fight was, but I had this Cocker Spaniel named Chelsea, and she was pretty old. And she was asleep, spread eagle on her back.
Uh-huh.
And, like, I'm sure I'm, like, crying or we're fighting, whatever. And all of a sudden, Chelsea farted.
It, like, breaks the tension.
Busted out laughing, and the fight was totally over.
That's awesome.
I loved that dog.
I love that.
Yeah. So, we met at Ball State, and that was that.
And I know your husband, or you're not your husband, your son. I won't talk too much because I don't want you to get emotional, but I know your son just graduated from high school and is headed off to college.
Yes, but the crazy thing is the college is here in town. He's going to UNR, which is 20 minutes away.
Okay.
We want him to stay in the dorm and even maybe join a frat or something.
Do the lifestyle. Yeah,
so, and then still have 20 minutes away. It's really was more about the ending of 18 years of like, I'm always going to be needed as a mom. I'll always be a mother, and I'll always blah, 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 blah. And ultimately one day I'll have grandkids. So that is always, now I get why moms push their kids to give them grandbabies, because it just makes me sad to realize it's over.
Yeah.
Like, I'm starting to feel it. I just, time goes by so fast.
Right.
It's crazy. So yeah, he graduates June 11th, and school, he'll be going, he's looked at other schools. He wants to go into pharmacy, actually, we think.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very
he's
good
all about the mighty dollar. Like, we always think he'd be a really excellent school teacher because he's good with kids, but he's like, Mom, they don't make enough money.
It's true. I mean,
Like, is it about the money, or wouldn't I want you to do something that fulfills you, that, not many people can say they go to work and love their job.
I can definitely speak to that. Like, Alan and I could stand to make some more money. We have enough.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have a little more breathing room, but our quality of life is exceptional. So we make do with just having enough.
Yeah.
That's awesome. 24 years. That's exciting.
It's been quite a ride.
Yeah.
I'm still my best friend. I don't know.
Aw.
I tolerate him.
You tolerate him.
I'm definitely the better half.
You're really the driving force in this relationship.
Opposites. He is like realistic and logical, and and I'm more, my mother calls me the free spirit, and that's probably, I should get a tattoo that says free spirit. I know that is on this list here, but that's, I think, what I am. I'm like willing to try most anything at least once.
Oh,
I like to have fun.
So me, I have a husband. His name is Alan. Do not have any kids yet. Yes, we would like the kids. I have 2 brothers. They both live in Michigan along with my parents. They're both married. And then I have a niece and nephew from one of them. I don't know if the other set is going to have kids or not. I hope they do, but I don't put pressure on them, because there's nothing worse than being 30 and people asking you about kids, because you're like, it's...
You know what? If I were to do it again, granted, I had Ian when I was just before 27, but I think it is wise to wait till early 30, at least wait. I think because you know yourself better, You're not young. And
the thing about this is my sister
too.
I talked to a lot of my friends and my sister-in-law about this when we were home. The tough part about asking, here's like a little lesson to everybody out there. If you're asking a 30-something woman why she doesn't have kids, the answers are, 1, she doesn't want kids and probably doesn't want to engage in conversation about it. Or 2, she wants kids and she's trying to have them, but it's not going so well. Right. The last thing that she wants to do is have it brought up all the time. Right. So that's where we are personally. Yeah. So the sooner the better on kids, but we don't have any yet. How much story do you want on how me and Alan met? Because that is
a little bit about your story, but I think it's a great story. So spew.
So Alan and I met online. We met on an Audi forum, like the car. We both used to be in the car world. I was in like an Audi club, and then later I was in a Mini Cooper club. So we started talking in 2006 when he was deployed I think he was in Afghanistan at the time.
Oh, really? I don't think I knew that.
So yeah, we started talking online, and like 5 days later, we were like, whoa, what is happening here? And then he came back. He was in the Air Force. He came back. His 4 years was ending, and they were eliminating certain positions, so certain positions weren't able to reenlist. So he finished up his time in Florida, moved back to St. Louis, and we kept talking. And it went through like some good periods and bad periods, but we never met. So sometimes talking, sometimes not talking. Fast forward 4 years later, spring of 2010, he just like randomly got a hold of me and told me he had joined the National Guard, and he told me that he was deploying again. And I was like, whoa. So once he deployed, we started talking again, and it was like right back
Really?
And we kind of said, like, we'd both dated other people in that meantime, but it was always like, they're not as good as this person.
Right.
So we kind of said, like, this is it. Like, when he comes back, like, it's now or never, no more. So that was in, like, May. He was deployed for 6 months. He came back for, like, to St. Louis, where his family is, for a few weeks. And then we bought him a one-way ticket from St. Louis to Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that. Like, one way. Like, that was it. So we met at the airport. The Detroit
That first time you'd seen each other face to face.
Yes.
Oh, wow. See, now I know how you got married, and I knew that you met him online through the Audi thing, but I didn't know those little
It's intense. And, yeah, so he, one-way ticket, like, that's it.
Bold.
So,
no.
Yeah, I guess so. We'd been talking for like 4 years at that point.
Yeah.
So we knew each other really well. And we'd done like FaceTime and, we'd seen pictures and all that. So there was no concern there. But he got a one-way ticket. It was December 18 of 2010.
Wow.
And then he just never left. And he had to go back for a drill because he was still in the National Guard. Anybody who knows National Guard, you have to go back like once a month. It's called drill. He went back and he'd come in on a one-way ticket. So he drove like one of my cars back. And I briefly considered like, is my car going to come back? Like, is this real? Is he going to come back? And he like brought more stuff back with him.
Wow.
And then the next drill weekend, he drove back and he brought more stuff back with him. And then a few months later for his sister's graduation, like I went out there to meet his family and we brought all his stuff back with him and that was it. So he pretty much, the funniest part is, so he flew in December and I had to work another week before I was off for Christmas break, like from work. I took some vacation time. So he was there for a week, just like by himself. And then he like immediately went to my family's cabin for 2 weeks with my entire family.
Oh, wow.
Just like got thrown. It was a pretty intense Christmas, but they like loved him and he rode a snowmobile for the first time and he hung out with my brothers and then that was it, like forever. Yeah. So we moved to Wyoming and at that point we weren't married, but we're like, we own a business. We live together. Like, this is great. Let's just get married. So we got married in Las Vegas.
I think that's awesome.
Because we just like, nothing again. I love weddings and I am such an enabler on weddings. Like, I'm the worst friend to have when you're planning your wedding because I think every idea is a great idea. Like, if you tell me you want to like make some hand blown glass centerpieces, I'll be like, great, let's take a class. Like, I love it. I love it all so much. And I will craft my heart out for anybody's wedding. So I'm like such an enabler, but the thought of me having one, no interest. So instead of a wedding, we have a convertible.
Nice.
And that is
23 years for my convertible.
And we just skipped the wedding and got a convertible instead. So we got married in Las Vegas, and that was this summer makes 4 years, I think. Oh. Yeah. So there we go.
Traditional big Catholic ceremony and big white dress, lots of stress. It was actually a great party, though. My parents
love weddings. Yeah.
But yeah, that was, 24 years ago. I really can't believe it. Now, see, I got married young, but I didn't have Ian at a really young. We were married for 5 years before we had Ian, but I was only 21.
I feel like that's not that young for it. Like I think my parents started having kids at like 24.
Yeah. And that age, most of them did. But today, I would encourage people I would say go have fun first. Go live life first because it's all downhill after that. Well, when Buzz Lightyear died, we called him Buzz. Initially it was devastating. We were very upset. It's like Ian was, because I couldn't have any more children. So we always wanted him to have a dog, it's his best friend. But Ian, so when Buzz died, we were going to just go without dog, just because the dog hair alone, was a pain in the butt. And he was just one dog, black lab. So when he died, we were going to let's just wait. He died in September. Let's wait till the first of the year. Well, I couldn't stand coming in from the grocery store and not being greeted. I couldn't stand it. And we have wood floors, and so you'd hear their paws across the floor. It just made me sad. I think dogs add so much to your life, and I needed another dog. So this time, though, we were going to get 2 dogs, and I wanted a girly dog. I wanted to put bow in her hair. I wasn't going to put clothing on her. Those, but I did want to, in my craftiness, want to make bows and put them in her hair. So I got a girly dog, and my sister and I I have a sister who's like bred dogs and just she knows all kinds of stuff. So we sat down and on the phone. I went to the ASPCA, I think, website. Is that what it is? ASPCA?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Whatever. Where you can find every breed of dog. You know what they're all about.
Oh, like AKC.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah. Anyway, we came across to Havanese because they didn't shed. They don't get too big, but they're not too small. And I loved the way they looked. She's cute. So I found her on like Puppy Find, I think it was called, .com, a breeder. And she was literally shipped here. And I paid a stupid amount of money for her, plus a plane ticket.
Uh-huh.
And she is exactly what I expected. She's a bit of a yapper, which my husband hates. When he walks in the door, she screams when she barks.
Yeah.
It's really annoying, but only lasts a couple of minutes. And she's very needy. She's constantly pet me. And sometimes she has mild seizures.
Oh, no.
So we pay this big money for this dog.
Yes.
And then, so of course, Ian and Steve wanted a guy's dog.
Boy dog to go with the girl.
Right. And I remember being like, I was on the computer showing Ian pictures of Lola. And she's a Havanese. Did I mention that? Yeah. But in fact, I think Jody or Tracy's dog from the Grocery Girls is a Havanese.
Is that Ollie?
I never had heard of them before. Mm-hmm. But after I found her, I was super excited. Ian and Steve were like, well, what about us? So what do? I go on Craigslist and I find these dogs for $50.
Yep.
And so I paid $50 for Louie, and he is half yellow lab, half golden retriever, and he is the
best
ever. There is nothing except he licks constantly. That's worst thing about him. He is fantastic. So, which only proved more to my husband's point. You know, the Heinz 57 dogs are always way better than the, breed 100%, whatever. Because even just her seizures, like, he always thinks that there's people, whatever, like what you like. So we did one of each. And you know what? Now Buzz we saved from the shelter, but this time I wanted what I wanted and I was going to get what I want.
Yeah. So you got Louie and Lola.
Louie and Lola, yeah. And we named Louie for St. Louis.
Okay.
Louis. And Lola just happens to sound,
suits her. I think it suits her so well.
Princessy, girly name, and I just thought Louie and Lola sounded really good together. Turns out, however, she hated her hair in a bow.
Oh, really? Do they like each other?
Do what?
Do they like each other?
Yeah, well, they do. They don't love each other. Like, they don't snuggle together. They play a little bit. It's like they tolerate each other. They don't mind each other. They don't dislike each other. But I always wanted them to cuddle and sleep together.
It's the dream.
She's like, it's like Lola's the annoying little sister to Louie. But, like, if she has something he wants, he gets it no matter what. So he's like, he steals all, like, I would get them each a bone. And he
wants both of them.
He'd go, as soon as she would move her head up, he would steal her bone, lay down and cross his paws like this.
Uh-huh.
He'd chew on his and keep hers.
What a jerk. Such a boy.
Yeah, total. Yeah, in fact, a memory just popped up on my Facebook from a couple of years ago where I have this picture. Let me see. Where's my phone? Let me see if I can show this to you. So we had discovered one of the sprinkler heads had been chewed on.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, which one is the guilty party? And I took a picture of Louie and a picture of Lola. And you could tell by Louie's picture who was the guilty party.
I was going to guess Louie no matter what.
This is... I just love this dog. Go away. There. My screen's cracked. I have Spider-Man I have to drop.
Buddy. I love his little eyebrows.
I know. That's one of the things I love, but you could just tell he's
like
guilty.
So sweet.
I'm so sorry. But yeah, when he raises his eyebrows, they're full on.
It's like little.
Yeah,
I noticed that in pictures.
A yellow lab, but there are things about him that you can tell.
Very golden.
Yeah, His mom was actually like a white lab.
Okay. And
he's got a spot, like there's a stripe down his back that's a really light blonde. You can tell, like, and tail. But yeah.
I'm in favor of the mutts. I like the mutts. We don't have mutts. So we have Baxter, who you guys saw earlier. Right. Baxter is, I would guess, like 16 now, which for a cat isn't remarkably old, but he's a friend of mine had to get rid of him. I won't go into why. And they asked if I wanted him, and I was like, that friend was really cute.
Sure, I'll take
I
your
was like,
cat.
okay, whatever. Sure. So I got Baxter. Baxter's the best. I had 2 dogs previously that I rescued. Cooper, my little guy, I got when I was in college. And then I wanted a friend for him. So I got Emma as a rescue, both of them. And they never liked each other. They were like an old married couple, but they never liked each other. So right after we moved to Wyoming, Emma died like abruptly out of nowhere. Had a seizure. Boom.
Oh, wow.
Like in our arms, which is traumatic. I've never had to go through that before. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm an adult now because my mom's not here to deal with this.
Oh God, putting a dog down or, oh God, that was just, it was like
horrible.
9 years ago and it's still just, you just never forget, man. That's a horrible experience.
So when she died so suddenly, like there was no progression where Cooper could kind of recognize what was happening. It was so sudden that we knew we wanted another dog, and Alan and I had both grown up with German Shepherds. So I was like, let's find a rescue. And this was a point of contention. And the thing about Wyoming is that there are very few dogs even available. And we knew we wanted a puppy because it had to be under a certain age because we wanted to raise it at the shop so it could be a shop dog. Right. And I mean, it's marriage. You got to compromise somewhere. And I was like, rescue. And he was like, no, purebred. And somebody had to give in or we weren't going to get a dog.
Yeah.
We were at like this standstill where we weren't getting any dog because we couldn't agree on it. So I finally caved and we got Radio. We got her from Michigan because my mom...
Haired German
Shepherd?
So
a lot of people don't know that she's a German Shepherd. So German Shepherds can come in long-haired. And then you can also have black German Shepherds. So she is a purebred German Shepherd. She's black, long hair. I think she's beautiful. She's one of the most beautiful shepherds. Her only issue is that she has a weight problem, which I can relate to. It's okay. I don't judge her for it. But we like aggressively monitor her food, and she's very active, and she's just like chunky. And I don't know how much of that is just like her fluff and how much is just her being chunky. We're working on it. Okay.
Louie's got a weight problem right now too.
It's just tough because you like love them, but like giving them treats is not showing them love. It's just giving them problems. Yeah, so.
We don't have a yard like you where he can just run around all willy-nilly, and so he's just poor dog.
Chunky monkey.
Often, but
yeah,
a little overweight.
So Radio is a purebred German Shepherd, and when my mom went to meet, we couldn't find a breeder. A lot of Wyoming breeders, I say this without judgment, it's just fact, or like backyard breeders, they'll just decide like, oh, I like my dog, so I'm going to breed it. Yeah. And we were a little wary of that. So my mom found a breeder in Michigan, and she was so happy that she ended up getting Radio's sister.
Oh, really?
Which is Maggie. And then Alan's dad was out here after we got Radio, and he liked him so much that he got the last from the litter, their brother, who is Ike. So we have 3 from the same litter. Maggie is a long-haired, just like Radio, but she has the traditional coloring.
Yeah.
Like the brown and black. And then Ike looks like prototype of a German Shepherd. Like when you imagine German Shepherd, that's what Ike looks like, and he has the personality of it too.
Huh.
So
why did you name it Radio?
Radio. Alan and I just talked about names for forever and ever and ever, and we could not come to an agreement on names. It sounds like we argue all the time. We don't. We're just too strong. Lots of strong opinions in this family. So we were down to, I was just telling somebody, we were down to August. We were thinking about naming her. Because we got her in August and we were married in August. I wanted to name her Pickles. Oh. And then he wanted to name her Rush. I think Rush, which is like a video game dog. I don't know. Somebody out there. And then at the last second, Alan worked on radio systems when he was in the military. And I was like, what about Radio? And there is no better name for her personality. She's very high strung, which is a German Shepherd thing. And she like buzzes all the time. She's like ears up.
Yeah.
But something about her name just suits her personality so well. But
I love you don't expect. Like that is, I've never heard an animal named Radio before. I think that's really cool.
It's like a weird name and you think like it doesn't make sense, but when I call her name, like it just makes so much sense to me. Radio. It's just what she is. That's perfect for her.
Oh, yeah.
And then so Cooper was her buddy. She immediately loved Cooper. Cooper was kind of an old man and wanted nothing to do with her. So they became buddies, and then Cooper, he had like an upset tummy one day, and we took him to the vet just on a Saturday. We went emergency vet, and we're like, let's see what's going on. And he was bleeding out inside.
Oh, actually.
No. What's that?
That's what I ended up, Buzz, he like collapsed right in front of me. Mm-hmm. Like he came to me to tell me something is wrong, and then he did like of a baby horse, and he just
lost his legs. Yeah.
And I gave him water, and he was sucking it down so fast, which apparently was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. And then he threw up all that water, and then he slipped again and fell. It was, ugh. But he it's like the dog just knew. And I got him to walk to my car. I'm totally interrupting you. But he managed to get right to the back of my car, and I had an Envoy, like a little SUV. And then he plopped down. He laid down, and I couldn't get him up to the car. I ran across the street. There was a dude doing landscaping, and he helped lift him into the car. But came to find out he had something like a tumor.
Spleen, yeah. That's what
internal. They said if you look at their gums,
they start to change color.
White. That means there's like internal bleeding or something like that.
And it was out of nowhere. He was like great. He'd been playing with radio, and then he had like a curved tail. He was a border collie corgi mutt. He had a curved tail, and he wouldn't hold his tail up. And then we gave him a cookie, is what we call treats. And we're like, do you want a cookie? And he took it for like our sake and then just set it down. And we were like, oh, if he's not going to eat a treat, something's going on. Yeah. So we had to put him in. What they said was, we can operate, but he might just bleed out on your floor. And after Emma dying on our floor, we're like, we can't do this again. So again, radio had no lead up to this. It's like, we take our dogs to the vet regularly, but out of nowhere, he was bleeding out, and it was better for his sake than ours to like let it continue. So radio had no lead up, and it kind of broke her brain a little bit because they were very bonded to each other. She didn't do well with it. She became very attached to this like ball that she has, because that's kind of what German Shepherds, they have this energy that they have to get out somewhere. So we knew we wanted another puppy, and in Alan's word, he wanted a dog that was his size. So for anybody who doesn't know, my husband is 6'5".
Oh, wow.
He's very slim, but he's very tall. And I had always wanted a Newfoundland my entire life. I knew I wanted one. I went to an obedience class with my mom when I was like 9 years old, and there were 2 Newfoundlands there named Molly and Zeus.
Oh, wow.
Fell in love, always wanted one. And same argument. Do we rescue? Yes. Do we get a purebred? Alan. So we found him in North Dakota. And we looked for Newfoundlands for over a year because there are not many breeders. And then the breeders that I would find, I wouldn't really trust. So over a year. And then we finally got Sully. And I wanted them to love each other. Day one, obsessed.
Oh,
they
awesome.
love each other so much. I was brushing radio last night, and Sully was in his crate, and he started like barking at me because he thought I was hurting radio because I was... Yeah, they're obsessed with each other. Sully was supposed to be named Huckleberry.
Bigger than now?
What's that?
If he's 170 pounds, is he bigger than Radio?
Oh, like, yeah. He's like okay, so think about the size of a German Shepherd. Radio's like 75 pounds. German Shepherds are like mid-sized dogs. They're not supposed to be large. She's a little on the tall side for a female. She's like 75 pounds. He's 170, so he's like a foot and a half taller than her. You cannot, like, our house is very open. It's like a vaulted ceiling. You cannot imagine how large he is.
Wow. I grew up, when I was little, we had a St. Bernard. And I mean, she died before, I was pretty young, so I barely even remember her. But I have always had a huge, huge affection for big faces.
Those big faces. When I hold his face, it's like, he's huge. And now,
Danes. My girlfriend has a Mastiff. What are those called? Like an English Mastiff or something like that?
English or Neapolitan or something, yeah.
I don't really know. I just know Mastiff, and his head is, I love it though. It's
I love it.
Supposed to be that way, so I love that dog.
He is the sweetest. His only flaw, so he is like 11 months old now. He won't get much bigger. He's just going to fill out. And his biggest flaw, I'll be honest, is that he's a teenage boy. Disgusting. And we are obviously going to neuter him, obviously, but we wanted him to get to a year old to like get enough muscle mass to support his frame. So right now he is a horny teenage boy, and he's disgusting. Drives me crazy. And then he slobbers. That's annoying. It's really annoying. But other than that, he's just like the sweetest disposition. Sometimes he comes to work. We don't really let him come to work right now because we're in a rural area and there's a lot of cattle dogs that aren't fixed. And the last thing I want to deal with is paternal rights, but we're very careful about it. But he's going to get neutered in the next month, and I think that'll kind of calm down some of his energy.
Yeah.
So he's the best, Sully. So he's named after the big blue monster from Monsters, Inc., Sully.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it fits his personality.
Was that the John Goodman one?
Yeah, the big fluffy blue thing.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be named Huckleberry, and after Tombstone, the movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to call him either Holiday or Huckleberry.
Yeah.
And that we were like,
it's the size of that chicken. When they were doing like, it's like getting high on something, but in Cowboy Named Peyote or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Is that the movie though? Because we have a running joke amongst my friends. We were driving to Pyramid Lake and it's on an Indian reservation, and we saw a snake in the road. It's a dirt road, and somebody goes, "Look at the size of that chicken," because. From the movie, I had to be.
I don't know the movie that well, but Alan adores the movie, so we wanted to call him like Doc or Holiday, but Holiday is like radio. Like I don't think people would have really gotten it. So we were at Huckleberry, and then out of nowhere, once we met him, we decided to call him Sully, and it works. So those are my pets.
Everybody that follows you on Instagram loves. You always say, "I know I post too many pictures of Sully." No, you don't.
I do, but I also don't care.
Well, no, I promise you, if they're like me, the more you post, the better. Between your dogs and your environment, I love all of that. I really do enjoy your Instagram feed.
Thank you. I love how much they love each other. Like
that's awesome. I wish Louie and Lola were more like that. Like I say, they're
cuddle together. When we set Sully down in front of radio, and she's like a German Shepherd. You would think like, oh, what's going to happen here? He like laid down because he was kind of intimidated by her energy, and she like wrapped herself around him.
Aww.
And I died.
I bet.
It was like the greatest moment of my life.
That would be awesome.
And so whenever they would like play, and then she would get a little rambunctious and he'd get a little nervous because he was just a puppy. He was 9 weeks old, and he would lay down and she would like try and like wrap around him and just like comfort him. And to this day, when he gets tired, he lays down with her, and she washes his feet, and she washes his face, and cleans his ears.
That's so cute.
Radio should have been a mama, but she would have been intense as a mother, and we never would have allowed it because we are not breeders. But so she mothers Sully, and they're obsessed with each other, and
that's adorable.
So that's that.